Hey guys, this is Joseph welcoming you to another Stukent Expert Session. In this expert session, we are going to hear from Erik Harbison. Erik is the lead instructor for GenM School, an exclusive course designed to get early-stage marketers ready for their first marketing job and a successful career. Erik has been coaching and mentoring marketers in leadership and contributor roles over his 25-year career, with positions at award-winning digital agencies, tech startups, and a B2B software company. He continues to be an active supporter for marketers at all levels. He's also an instructor for various digital marketing courses, including both in-class and online environments, where he has handcrafted curricula which are focused on developing a personal brand and hands-on learning of integrated digital marketing channels and disciplines. Over his career, Erik has amassed a well-developed, active network with leading agencies, brand, ad tech, marketing tech, startup, entrepreneurial, and academic communities, and continues to connect many early-stage marketers and career switchers with their next marketing career opportunity. We're excited to hear from you, Erik. Take it away.
All right, great. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Erik Harbison, and my mission throughout my career has always been to help marketers navigate their career journey, no matter what level they're at. So I'm excited today to talk about some thoughts and ideas on how to help you prepare for your career in digital marketing. So let's get started. First, I want to set some context by just dispelling or identifying the difference between a marketing career and a marketing job. I think a lot of, especially early stage marketers, start getting confused by thinking the job that they take is going to define their career. And just this illustration helps to showcase that your digital marketing career is something that's long-term, and it's something that should be set on certain goals versus your marketing jobs, which are basically the building blocks on how you achieve your career goal. So just remember that the jobs that you take throughout your digital marketing career are meant to help you achieve that goal, and not one job that you have defines what your career will end up being. Now, I'd like to start with this statement that is something shared by Stephen Covey through 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. A great book to read if you're just getting started in any career, really. But it's especially important for the context of digital marketing because beginning with the end in mind, especially for your career, is so important because it helps to keep you focused. It's actually going to limit your risk and reduce your risk of getting into a job that you don't like or into a job that isn't going to provide you any long-term value. And it's going to give you the clarity that you need to get started before you start to expend any energies or effort in a job search or start working your network. So it's important just to remember beginning with the end in mind as it relates to your career. Now, apply that to what I'll call a digital marketing career plan, and you can start to see how it starts to make sense. If you begin with the end in mind and identify what is your career goal? Where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? And if you can identify that you want to be a digital marketing director at a certain company, or you want to be the head of a marketing team, or you want to have your own company, whatever that goal is, establish that now so that you can start with the second step, which is take inventory of where you are, identify where you are with experiences that you have, people that are in your network. And then the next step is to establish, within 1 to 2 years, establish some milestones or some goals that you can hit that's going to help you get to your eventual goal, your 3-5 year goal, of leading that marketing team, starting your own company, etc. So today, we're going to go deeper into certain frameworks that you can use and exercises you can do to establish your own career marketing plan. Now, first, some context on the digital marketing landscape. McKinsey Marketing Partners puts out this annual report about marketing roles. And recently it discovered, most recent report, that almost 2/3 of all companies are planning to add a digital marketing role in 2019. Good news, skill set for digital marketing is in demand. However, you need to keep in mind that if it's in demand, that means that the competition is going to be fierce. So how are you going to set yourself apart? And things we'll learn today will help you do that. Secondly, you think about the jobs that exist. Okay, so you want to find your first job. Know that when you do a job search in LinkedIn or Career Builder or Glassdoor, the jobs you see there represent about 20% of the roles that are available. That means there's an abundance of opportunities that exist that aren't necessarily found in a job search board. So we'll talk about ways that you can actually explore other opportunities to find those 80% of the jobs that are not listed. So, at a high level, what's the challenge for marketers? It sounds like, or it feels like, you talk to any company today and they're willing to hire anybody who knows how to set up an Instagram story. However, that's not the case because, based on conversations that I've had in the teaching roles that I've had and in the marketing leadership roles that I've had, there are some true challenges that do exist. And when you think about them, some of them are, just identifying, the uncertainty that exists with marketers today. I don't know what I want to do when I grow up is kind of a statement that we always hear or challenge people to answer. But take about a step further and think about what do you want to do in marketing when you get established in your career. A lot of people don't know that yet. So if you have uncertainty, then you're not really going to be driven to do much, and you're just going to kind of live in this. You're just going to be stuck. So today we're going to talk about ways to identify that challenge, but also there's this challenge of the old catch-22. I wish I could hire you, but I wish you had more experience. Well, I need to get experience, but I need to get a job in order to get the experience. So this catch-22 is especially important for digital marketing because it's hard to get your first shot at a job. Oftentimes internships or that entry-level job, always looking for experience that, it's hard trying to find how to get that experience. So we're going to tackle that today as well. So the solution I want to cover today just is 3 simple parts of a framework that's going to help you get ready in preparing for your digital marketing career, focusing on you, focusing on how to get motivated, and then focusing on how to market yourself. Now, this 3-step solution or framework is going to give you the clarity you need. It's going to identify how you can get job ready. It's going to give you clarity on a path so that you can develop a true digital marketing career plan. And there's going to be some suggestions on how to debunk that myth of the catch-22 of how to get experience without a job. So remember from the beginning, you talked about beginning with the end in mind. And in the context of a digital marketing career, let's do this. Let's start from the inside out. It's why the first part of this framework is about focusing on you. And by doing that, take inventory of where you are, and that's going to help you identify not just what your 3 to 5 year goal could be, but what sorts of things you need to look at along the way. So when I talk about me, it's really about taking inventory of yourself. And there's 3 areas I want us to focus on today. One is going to be your career profile. One is going to be about what I call the personal brand pillars. And then the other is going to be about what you can do to quickly set some actionable goals for yourself. Now, the career profile, again, based off of conversations and just experiencing marketing careers for 25 years, your career profile is really influenced by 2 main points that intersect. And there's always that famous saying of, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, I like to believe that for your digital marketing career, it's about both. It's about what you know and it's about who you know. So under the experience side, this is really focusing in on what you know, what are your experiences and education inputs and influences. And then in terms of who you know, it really focuses on your network. Who do you know from previous jobs, from college, from your family connections, from clients or vendors that you've had, alumni groups and associations? If you think about it, there's a lot of influence that exists in these 2 ecosystems that when they converge and overlap, that basically is you. That is the you that you present as part of your digital marketing career. Think about it. So at the intersection, let's say you got a certification from HubSpot or Google. That's great. But how did you apply that? Well, you apply that because you had a chance to do it at an internship or for your friend's pizza place. So that's a true experience that you take into that intersection there, which is what shows up on your resume. It's what influences the person that gives the interview. Like, how do you perform in that interview? It also influences how do you carry yourself in a networking situation. So the what experience, that's an example of that. When it comes to the who from your network, think of that professor or that old boss you had, the person that inspired you to go pick up that book, to read that book, Start With Why, or read that book, Linchpin. Those books that kind of gave you some influence and ideas on maybe how to handle yourself differently or how to look for other things. So that inspired you on how to be ready for, again, the intersection of presenting yourself. So it prepared you for maybe answering that question in the interview about, why should we hire you? So as you can tell, there's 8 elements that are impacting this entire profile that I think is important that you take inventory of understanding what exists today that you have in all these different elements. So take time after this presentation, maybe this week, document the 8 elements, list out exactly all the things that you know that fall within each of these categories, because what it'll help do is identify maybe some gaps that you have, meaning you don't have any certifications, or maybe, I probably should reach out to my alumni association because I know they have a pretty active network. So take those steps. Again, it's kind of an easy first step on taking inventory for yourself. Now, one way to apply your career profile and kind of gut check your what you know and who you know is to start having some exploratory conversations. Now, they don't need to be in person. They could be virtual. They could be phone calls. But are there 3 people that you can contact that can help? 3 people you got to contact to do a couple things. One is start getting feedback on your LinkedIn profile, your resume. Start getting feedback on your career trajectory. Maybe start talking about what you think you want to do. Maybe there's someone that can help you set your goals. But who are those 3 people you can talk to for those things? Now, it's important to do this because 2 things are going to happen when you have these conversations. You're going to start developing your network. People are going to start remembering their conversation and you're going to get on their radar for when opportunities come up in the future. It gives you an opportunity also to start identifying new points of inspiration, because the more people you talk to, the more chances you have of getting a new idea around a book, an app, a podcast, some inspirational resource that's going to help push you in another direction and help you navigate your digital marketing career plan. Now, how do you have these conversations? What do you talk about? Well, I've included here a couple of questions that could be part of conversation starters or part of the conversation. Again, looking for feedback, insights on you, your footprint, but maybe it's an opportunity for you to get experience. Maybe there's a friend that has a website, a church, somebody local that has something that you can provide some help on to get those hands-on experience opportunities. Second part of me is about taking inventory. Second part about taking inventory and looking at yourself here as part of this framework is your brand pillars. Now, this all starts by Googling your name. When's the last time you did it? And what did you see? Did you like it? Did anything show up? Maybe it's a blog post you had done. It's pictures from a conference. The good news is here that you can take control in establishing a deeper presence of what shows up when someone searches your name. And it's important because it's probably the first place a hiring manager is going to go. When they get access to your name, your resume, or your LinkedIn profile, they're going to start Googling your name. So get ahead of it and see what shows up. Because here's one thing to note. Research done by LinkedIn shows that 3/4 of all hiring managers are going to want to look at your profile to take a look to see where have you been, what have you done, maybe see that there's more examples you can give about your experience. But you got to make sure you got to make sure you have a LinkedIn profile, but also, are you putting your best foot forward with what you have on that page? Because if you still have that background behind your headshot of the default, blue screen of connected dots, it's time to upgrade. Maybe think about choosing a picture that represents your hobbies, more about your personality. Definitely use an image for that real estate. Do not use the default. So when it comes to brand pillars, there's really 3 main brand pillars you should be considered about. If you're thinking about a career in social media, something like that, maybe an Instagram profile or a YouTube channel, you want to have those fleshed out as well. But by and large, the 3 main pillars you want to have ready to go: your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and a personal website. These are kind of must-haves when it comes to presenting yourself into the digital marketing landscape. Now, I've given links to some tools and resources that can help you shape or improve or even establish one of these 3 things that you may or may not have established yet, but they are critical. Now, when it comes to what do you do or how do you improve these brand pillars, a couple do's and don'ts here, right? When it comes to the do's, right? You should be summarizing accomplishments on all 3 of these pillars, but do not copy and paste the same stuff from one to the other. Each vehicle serves its own purpose. So the thing about the resume is a key place to summarize your key accomplishments on things you've done in roles that you've had. Your LinkedIn profile is a great place to kind of elaborate more about what you've done, bring in some testimonials, capture some endorsements from a professor, someone you worked with, someone that may be able to give you that testimony on your profile, but also take advantage of the opportunity to include media like links to a project you had done in your senior year, or links to a blog article you've written. Definitely take advantage of that landscape inside of LinkedIn. Third, your personal brand site. These are so easy to set up now. And when I say easy, I mean, just include the material that matters, but also the value someone can get from setting up a personal brand website to use as a testing bed for understanding Google Analytics, email marketing funnels. That is invaluable and will position you well when it comes to an interview question about how you executed what you learned through your certifications. So definitely keep that in mind, the do's and don'ts when it comes to your brand pillars. Lastly, for the me section on taking inventory is starting with goal setting. And it's simple as the illustration we looked at in the beginning. It's start by identifying what's the marketing role that you want. And it could be 3 years, could be 2 years. What's the time in the future? By the time in the future, you want to have what role or which role? Is it a marketing director, start your own company, work for a startup? Identify something and start somewhere. Then, by identifying 2 time increments of setting some micro goals for yourself, you start to feel that you're accomplishing things by checking off these quick hit little projects you can do to get you to that initial goal set. So I like to think of it as, what can you do in the next 3 weeks? So have some urgency around what you can do. But then what can you do in the next 3 months? So maybe the longer term projects like setting up your website or networking with certain associations or groups in your area. Start to define what these things are, because you'll then give yourself a good starting point on where you can start putting your effort towards your digital marketing career. So the second part is about motivation when it comes to the framework. And the only reason I speak about motivation is we all need it because it helps us to stay focused. Now, prioritizing our focus can actually help us think clearly about how we want to execute our energies and our efforts. But when you can think clearly, you're actually able to make better decisions, and you're making informed decisions, and you're wasting or eliminating any risk to wasted time and effort. So the one exercise I think is interesting when it comes to prioritization is specific to your career, is around the career factors. Now, I share this based off of, kind of being in it for 25 years, talking to other hiring managers for marketing roles. I started to identify some trends when I started to see team members join a company or leave a company. And usually the themes that were coming true were these 6 things. So it makes sense, if you're going to be starting your career, is to start prioritizing these 6 things right now. Which of these are most important to you? Rank these from 1 to 6. And you think about it, there are certain influences that these will have. These are certain influences tied to your career and tied to marketing roles and companies that you will look for. And just quickly, just to summarize, company or title, if you're just starting out, title is probably not important to you, but some people that have been managers for a while may have a director level or a higher level as a focus for them. Is that important to you? When it comes to company, is it a certain type of company, like an agency or a software company, or is it a certain characteristic of a company, like a nonprofit or a company that's mission driven? Define what that is for the company, and then where does that factor in your ranking? Location, is it a remote only role you're looking for? Is it based on a geographic location? Are you moving to a certain city? This will help you only look for companies that may be hiring in those certain contexts. So location is key, and that would be a top. If you're looking for a remote only role, then location would probably be your number 1 priority. Salary, again, money matters at certain levels, but if you're just getting started, challenge is probably more interesting than salary. Not that you're looking to work for free, but you're certainly looking to be compensated. But salary can be number 1 or 2 if it's somebody who desperately needs the finances. They maybe have a life situation going on. But salary is definitely something that could be a factor as you start to grow your career. Challenge, the most important, probably the most popular for those that are early stage marketers. You'll want challenge is number 1 if you want to gain as much knowledge as possible. You want to be challenged, pushed outside your comfort zone, and you want to learn a new skill or just kind of learn how businesses run, or you just want to be challenged. I mean, that's basically it. And if that's your number one priority, then it's going to influence the types of roles you look for. Last is balance, which is specific to work-life balance. If you have a life event that you need to have flexibility, maybe this means you're only looking for a part-time role. Or maybe this means you're looking for a company that isn't one that's working hard and playing hard. So that could influence the types of companies that if balance is your number one priority, then you're probably not looking to go work for a startup or not looking to go work for an agency, because those things, those environments aren't necessarily supporting balance as a number one priority. So you get the idea, start to get familiar with these factors, but then take the exercise, rank them for yourself. What are the top three? When you define those top three, you'll be amazed at how clear your vision becomes on the types of companies you should be looking at. Then that'll lead you to certain resources and certain individuals and certain influencers and certain content sources. So go through this exercise. Bonus if you get somebody that you know or knows you to gut check and rank the same 6 factors for you, because that's a good way to make sure that you're being honest with yourself. But make sure and think about reevaluating your priorities the way you have ranked every 3 months or so, because priorities do tend to shift. And then lastly is the market. I talked about market being about how do you connect yourself with the market? How do you market yourself as it relates to taking your step into maybe the first step into your executing your digital marketing career plan? And think of it in 2 ways. There's an active approach and there's a passive approach. Active is really focused on taking action. Do things that generate an immediate result. Now that could be things like attending webinars, taking courses, gaining immediate experience around a certain topic that you want to become more fluent in, and really just doing things to just soak up as much information as possible. Whereas your passive actions are going to be things that are setting you up for the long term. They're actions, yes, but they're done so that they set you up for a possible opportunity down the road. Now that could be getting more involved in networking, meeting people and telling them your story, having those exploratory conversations, posting your resume on places where it takes your resume in and then notifies you when something relevant comes up. Consider a combination of both of these approaches, and these will help get you job ready as you start to advance your plan. Now, diving deeper into one of the active examples is, getting hands-on experience. Probably the best way to position yourself, be job ready for any digital marketing career. Now, GenM, a place that I work with, happens to position or happens to provide a marketplace designed just for that. So you basically join as a student. You have access to free online courses. You then have access to businesses that are looking for marketers to help them with their true real world needs. You get connected with those businesses, you get the hands-on experience, the business gets the help, and the cost to you is just your time. So if you got a couple months to get some hands-on experience that can equip you for that first conversation of explaining your accomplishments and why you're relevant for a full-time role, genm.co is a place to check out. When it comes to passive experiences, I talk about making connections through networking. A great passive action you can take is go to meetup.com. Look in your zip code, maybe a 10, 25 mile radius. Can guarantee that there's probably a digital marketing event happening in your area in the next week that you can just attend to learn more about, or see who shows up and start making connections that way. Of course, there's other networks like your alumni network, marketing associations, and Slack, Reddit, LinkedIn. Again, you have your factors prioritized. You now know what types of networks and groups to look at. So in summary, this is, again, just summary of bullet points on some of the key steps you can take to start defining and preparing for your career in digital marketing. And just by following these steps, like we talked about, you look to gain more clarity, get more focus, and focus on how can you impact the first couple of steps in preparing for your digital marketing career. So that's it. I want to thank you for your time today. Definitely some actions to take here if you want to get started in planning and preparing for your career. But if you have any questions along the way, you get stuck, you want to know how to use some of these profiles or some of these frameworks, shoot me an email. Definitely connect with me on LinkedIn, and let's stay in touch. But if you're looking for a printout of that career profiles, the 8 elements, go to this URL here. There's some bonus resources there the printable guide there that you can use for yourself, but also some resources in terms of tools, other sources for education. Just again, my gift to you as you start your journey or your digital marketing career. So best of luck in your preparation and pursuit. Reach out if you have any questions, and have a great day.